Hey guys, on today's episode, we have our final mock draft of the season, getting you ready for your drafts this weekend and next week. Don't forget, guys, please follow us, like, subscribe, YouTube, all social media channels, Instagram, X, Facebook, and now TikTok. Let's jump in and have a great time, guys. Let's go! All right. Welcome to the show. This is the Frankly Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your hosts, Frankie and Johnny. What's happening, Frankie? We've got a lovely guest here. Who do we have here?
Oh my goodness. Look who decided to show up, John. Guys, for those listening, watching, checking us out, it is my pleasure, honor to have Mr. Ian Anuszkiewicz join us. And fun fact, guys, about Ian over here, and Ian, I'll turn over to you in just a second, but fun fact, he was actually on our very first YouTube episode ever. We were like, dude, we got to get you back on. He's tearing up his fantasy football leagues, and maybe he can give you some insight you're looking for. So, Ian, welcome to the fucking show, baby. How you feeling, man?
Frankie, Johnny, I'm feeling great, fellas. You're right. I know we were chatting a little earlier. Was on the very first YouTube cast, so happy to be back and really excited to see all the momentum you guys are seeing and the success with the podcast. So happy to be here and happy to draft some names with you fellas.
Happy to have you, brother. Welcome to the show, man. It's going to be, I want to see how you've evolved in your drafting because it was definitely a little questionable, I think, the last podcast. I'm kidding. I don't remember. I just love talking shit, man.
We love
Welcome
that.
to the show, brother. Love having you, man. Yeah, heck yeah. All right, guys, today we've got the mock draft episode. This is our last mock draft of the off season here.
Wow.
It's so close, I can taste it. We're right fucking there, guys. All right, today we're going to be doing a mock draft 12-team, full PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a flex, a tight end, no kicker, no defense, and 4 bench spots. We don't want to take up too much time. We just want to give you guys some great information. Before we get to the mock draft here, guys, I want to introduce you to our new sponsor. We've got some really exciting news here, guys. This episode is brought to you by BetStamp. I'm thrilled to announce our new sponsorship, our new partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert. It opens up an incredible opportunity for you guys to join some of me and Frankie's favorite sportsbooks and get the best odds and new user offers. Take advantage of these new user offers on these sites, guys. Head over to our dedicated page, signupexpert.com/frankly, to explore a selection of sportsbooks tailored to your region, each with unique offerings. So if you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and show some love for our brand, for Frankly, baby,
That's right, baby.
I highly recommend signing up for your next sportsbook through my Sign Up Expert link. You can easily find it in the description of the video or go to signupexpert.com/frankly. All right, let's get into the mock here. All right, guys, let's get this draft going here, baby. Frankie's going to be drafting from the 5 spot. I will be drafting from the 10 spot. And Ian's going to be bringing up the rear on the 12 spot. We'll see what you look like on the turn there, man. All right, let's get things kicked off here right now. All right, right off the rip, we've got CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Frankie at the number 5 spot. I like that you picked this spot because we do have question marks up here. We really do. We have CeeDee Lamb signing. We're good there.
Good.
We have Brandon Ayuk signing. We're good there. There's one guy that we're still waiting on, and it makes me a little nervous. So I want to see what you're going to do here, man. What's going on in your head?
Guys, I'll tell you what. Jamar Chase is who Johnny is referring to. And yes, he makes me a little bit uneasy. I definitely think something is going to be sorted out. I definitely would expect him to be on the field for week 1. However, when you are talking fantasy football and you're willing to anchor your number 5 overall pick, your team on this guy, John, I don't know if I'm willing to do that. So I'm going to go with somebody that has a little bit higher of a floor, not necessarily as high as a ceiling. I don't think so. But it's a guy that I want a piece of. We talked about it multiple times, man. It's actually going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to shift gears a tad, and just in case, I would assume Jamar Chase is going to be next, which we're seeing here, so it's perfect. but that's why I wanted to go with Amon-Ra.
I love that, man. And guys, this is real. This is real shit. You can go right down the list and go straight by ADP if you want to, but we've got real circumstances here. Yes, Chase will probably be fine, but if you're trying to decide between one guy or another, even if Jamar Chase misses week 1 just to make the point, you don't want to take that chance, not on somebody you're anchoring your team with. So I love that. I think you're going to see Amon-Ra St. Brown coming up in front of Jamar Chase. I think you're going to see people jumping on Bijan Robinson or Breece Hall a little bit earlier because of that uncertainty with Jamar Chase. So I love it, man. Thanks for explaining that to everybody. All right, right after Amon-Ra, we did have Jamar Chase, then Bijan, Breece, A.J. Brown. Okay, and I am at the number 10 spot here. All right, I think what I'm going to do here, I do like some of the receivers. There are some really good ones. Not necessarily this early, though. I think I am going to go for a running back here. There's a guy I don't draft very often, and I think in this spot, it's a really good place for him. I just never seem to get the opportunity. I love the guy. I think he's going to be complete and total breakout. I think he's going to have an excellent season, great offense. I love anchoring my team with this guy, Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, right after Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, and Ian, you're on the clock with your first pick on the turn here. You get 2 in a row. What are you doing, man?
Man, so I was going to go, I like the Jahmyr pick. I was going to go Saquon, right? But the computer decided to take that. And I had a feeling. So right now I'm in between 2 guys because I have the 2 spots. I'm going to go RB and then go with a wide receiver as well. So for the RB, I think people might be expecting me to go Kyren Williams here, but I'm actually going to go with Derrick Henry. And the reason is listen, we're Browns fans, and we know that if it's one thing the Ravens do, it's run the fucking football. And so he's going to run the ball. He's going to get all the goal line looks. I mean, they might try to pound it in three plays in a row inside the red zone with him. So I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities, maybe not so much for as many yards as in Tennessee, but the touchdowns will be there, and we know that's what we want. So and then the next pick I'm going to go here. I saw some reports about maybe a little bit of unrest around this guy. So yeah, I'm taking Garrett Wilson. Listen, phenomenal player. We're also Buckeyes fans on this podcast, on your podcast. He had a pretty solid year last year for probably the most atrocious QB play across the league. So now he's got Aaron Rodgers, provided he stays healthy. I don't think there's any reason why Garrett Wilson shouldn't have another 1,000-yard season, should have more touchdowns. PPR league, so he's going to get a ton of looks and opportunities for catches. So I'm going Garrett Wilson.
Ian,
I love
on that
pick,
note, man. John, real quick, we're gonna be talking about Garrett Wilson quite a bit coming up. For those of you just priming the pump, maybe for a Champions episode, and I can tell you, sir, that is a good pick. He's averaging 157 targets over his first 2 years. He's averaging over 1,000 yards on both years with dog shit throwing him the ball. So I love it, man. Hype train coming for Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, and the other great pick with Derrick Henry. I mean, news coming out here, guys. Keaton Mitchell will be starting on the PUP, and that is his main competition for carries. You've got Justice Hill in the backfield, but nobody that's really going to be taking Derrick Henry's carries. So as long as Keaton Mitchell's off the field, which he is for at least the first 4 weeks, massive workload for the king, man. Yeah, love it. All right, man. Right after you took Derrick Henry and Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams went to the Saquon Barkley owner. I've got Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm on the clock here. I'm going to try something. Again, we like to try different strategies to show you guys what's happening and show you what it looks like if you do this. Not that I would necessarily do this, but I want to see what it looks like. I'm going to go running back here. I'm going to go with another volume play here with Jahmyr Gibbs. And 2 guys I'm really deciding between. It's Jonathan Taylor and Kyren Williams. We're going to talk about Kyren Williams in the next episode as well. But it's going to be a little bit more of a committee, I think, in Los Angeles. They do like to run with a couple of running backs. The emergence of Blake Corum over the offseason here as well makes me just a tad nervous on Kyren Williams. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. He's healthy. When he's healthy, he's absolutely got top 5 potential. And I can have just a stud running back room there with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. So I'm going to struggle with receivers. So obviously I'm probably going to be looking at coming back, hitting a couple of receivers in a row here just to make sure I've got enough options. All right, right after I took Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne, Marvin Harrison Jr., Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams. Frankie, you're on the clock. You're in second round. And who are you going to pair up with Amon-Ra St. Brown?
So this is interesting, guys, because typically I would want to try to go another receiver here, but the reality of the situation is I'm not a big fan of the receivers I'm looking at this particular value. I could do Drake London. I could do Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans. For a second round pick, knowing I'm coming back on the snake, I think I can get for sure one of those guys in the third. So what I'm going to do again, John, I want to test out some different strategies, right? So I'm looking at running back, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Pacheco. I'm going to sit on that as well. I'm going to actually go quarterback here. And I want to see how my team develops with a number one QB. Now, the question is that everybody is asking that nobody's really talking about is which top quarterback should you choose? Josh Allen, who's been a dominant force based on the amount of touchdowns that he provides. However, his weapons are significantly depleted. You have Patrick Mahomes to where he had a down year last year, but now he is replenished in his weapon base. And then you certainly have Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts with their rushing floor. Guys, I'm going to do a fucking hot take here, and I'm rolling with that of Pity Pat Mahomes over that of Josh Allen as my number one quarterback, and I want to see how this pans out in this type of strategy because I haven't done it before.
I love that. I don't think I've ever had Patrick Mahomes on any fantasy team I've ever drafted. So that's great, man. Let's see how it shakes out for you. All right, you started a little onesie run there, man. Right after Patrick Mahomes, you have Sam Laporta, Drake London, Josh Allen, Travis Kelce, Brandon Ayuk on the turn, Stephon Diggs, Isaiah Pacheco, and Devon Achane kicking off the third round here, Frank. Where are you going with the 305 pick?
So this is really awesome because I was targeting one particular running back, and this is why I did not take him in this particular second round, right? And it's Josh Jacobs. With the news of A.J. Dillon, right, and some of the things that are happening with him and him being out for season, with Josh Jacobs going to get a full workload and the emergence of what Jordan Love has done, especially towards the back half of last season, John, I think that this is a perfect time to grab that of Josh Jacobs, anchor that as your RB1, knowing you have Amon-Ra as your receiver one, and now you have a superstar quarterback in that Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to lock in Josh Jacobs as my RB1.
I love it, man. We're going to be talking about Josh Jacobs, but he's a guy that I am rising on. No question about it. With A.J. Dillon being out for the season, my God, that's just got volume written all over it, man. And that's what Josh Jacobs needs to be a top 5 back. All right, then Lamar Jackson, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans, and I am back on the clock at number 10. I've got Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to have to go receiver heavy here, guys. I know that. It's not a comfortable place for me. I don't love this. We'll see how these next couple of picks come about, but the receivers I'm looking at as my number one receiver does not make me feel good. Not going to lie. Nico Collins. Now, I think 90,000 of you on Instagram.
Shout out.
Shout out to the Instagram reels. 90,000, one of them hit right now, and it's me talking shit about Nico Collins. Say I will never draft Nico Collins in the second, third round. It's just too high for me. And it is. I'm not anchoring my team on Nico Collins. I'm sorry. I love him. I think he's a great player. I just think he's way too expensive right now. Not a guy I feel good about as far as volume and anchoring my team. Now, when we're looking at this, you got Nico Collins, Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Michael Pittman Jr., DK Metcalf. This is difficult because none of these guys feel really good as far as an anchor goes. So I want to get a guy that does have a nice high floor, but also has the opportunity for ceiling and an opportunity to get volume as well. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with DJ Moore. He's a true alpha. I know there's a busy receiver room. He's got a rookie quarterback, but he's got a very capable, maybe the most capable rookie quarterback in a situation like this that we've ever seen. So I'm going to go with DJ Moore here. I just feel better about him anchoring the team and also giving me a little bit of a ceiling play with touchdowns as well. All right, then James Cook and Ian, you're on the clock here, man. You're on the turn. You've got Derrick Henry and Garrett Wilson. Who are you going for next?
Yeah, so some of the things that you guys have been saying are kind of ringing true here. Like, I see some guys that are great. I don't know if the value is quite there. I'm going to go with a guy who I want a piece of this offense this year, sticking with the Buckeyes theme. Maybe might get judged by some of your viewers for a little bit of a reach here, but he's got such explosive upside, and I know he had a bad injury last year, but he looks great. The offense looks great. CJ Stroud looks great. I'm going with Tank Dell.
Wow, love that pick. Way to look
So-
down the ADP list, man.
Yeah.
Go get the guy you like, man. You're on the turn,
Exactly.
go get the guy you want.
Exactly. And then, there's been a lot of hype, Hard Knocks, all of that stuff around this explosive Bears offense that we're going to see. And I'm buying into it. I'm buying into the hype. I got to be honest. I think Caleb is going to galvanize that offense. I think he is going to open up their offense for a lot of different things that they can do. Going to be hard to focus on one specific weapon. And hopefully if they have a decent passing attack, right, that opens up the lanes for a really athletic guy that, again, as long as he can stay healthy, I think he's a really nice anchor in what should be an explosive offense. So I'm gonna go with our boy DeAndre Swift.
Love when you zag when I'm thinking you're gonna zig. I love that. And there goes Nico Collins there, 4th round. Now, Nico Collins, I would have considered coming back on this turn.
Sure.
Getting him in the 4th round makes me feel better as my wide receiver too. I may have taken him at that point, but alas, he's taken in front of me. All right, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, DJ Moore, 4th round here. Like I said, I do need to continue hitting receiver. There are running backs that I love. There are some quarterbacks. You still have Jalen Hurts sitting out there. Very interesting, but I know what that's going to do to my team. If I take a quarterback here, I'm going to hate my receivers moving forward. So I need to continue pounding receivers here. Now, this one's tough for me because there's 4 guys that I adore in this range. I really do. We're talking Cooper Kupp, Michael Pittman Jr., DK Metcalf, and Malik Neighbors. This is tough for me because I love all 4 of these guys. But based on the way my team is constructed, I've got DJ Moore here. I think he's got a nice floor for me. So I could look at a play of a ceiling play with Malik Neighbors, which I think he is. I think a home run shot with Cooper Kupp is also very possible. And actually what I am going to do, I think DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman have nice floors. I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp here. And this is a guy I want to talk about a second. Cooper Kupp being drafted in the 4th round. I mean, listen, he's been banged up. He's had injuries, all of this stuff. But Cooper Kupp at his best, at his healthiest, he's the top receiver in the NFL, guys. I mean, he would be in that conversation of those top 4 receivers ahead of Justin Jefferson at this point, I think. So I think this is a guy who has an absolute opportunity to jump back into that 1st and 2nd round for next year and overperform his ADP. And it's Cooper Kupp. All right, then Deebo Samuel, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Michael Pittman Jr., and Frankie are on the clock.
Oh, man, I love when shit like this happens. When things just fall in your lap, you're just sitting there all cozy, and you're like, oh, this is great. John, I'm going to take this. So for those listening, watching, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Pity Pat Mahomes going to be baking some beautiful pies for us alongside that of Josh Jacobs. So I could really do anything. I could go running back here. There's plenty of solid running backs still on the board with Rachaad White, Joe Mixon, Kamara, Walker. But I definitely want to go receiver here. For me, there's a teardrop. And right now I'm looking at DK Metcalf and Malik Neighbors, Devonta Smith, so on and so forth. This one is easy. I'm locking in DK. To get DK as your receiver 2 is nothing short of awesome, especially in the 4th round. When you pair that with a high flyer in Patrick Mahomes and a ceiling play in Amon-Ra, I love getting DK as my number 2 here.
I think DK is going to have a hell of a year, man. I have a really, really good feeling about DK this year. Absolutely. All right, then Rachaad White, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, Devonta Smith, Joe Mixon, Malik Neighbors, Anthony Richardson, Zay Flowers, and Frank, you're back on the clock here.
So guys, this is working out really well because I'm going to have to go running back here because there's another teardrop going to happen knowing that I'm picking at in the 5th round in a 12-man PPR at the 5th spot. There's going to be a drop-off. People are going to need running backs, and I can look at the board right now and tell you there's at least 4 teams that need them. So right now, from a running back standpoint, I'm looking at Kamara, Kenneth Walker, and Aaron Jones. Those are the top 3. Now, what's interesting here, and I know I'm going to catch shit for this, because we had touted it's Aaron Jones over Kamara. Guys, things change. And what I mean by this is Kendre Miller is now out, okay? The Saints offense looked abysmal without that of Alvin Kamara. This is a full PPR. In addition, Aaron Jones, yes, I love him, but now JJ McCarthy's down. Sam Darnold is there, and now there's a lot more ambiguity around what's happening with the particular Vikings offense. So for me, I'm actually going to go Kamara in this standpoint, and I could flip-flop on Sunday, but it's definitely between the two of them. But I'm locking in Alvin Kamara as my running back too.
I think it's a great pick. I'm going to go a different direction here. And I just want to ask you that word that you said.
Fuck you. I knew you were going to say that.
Ambiguity?
Okay, it's a Frankism. Let's help each other out. Let's all say it together.
In a sentence, please?
Let's say it together all at once. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and say it.
Ambiguity.
That's right, guys. That's what I said. I know that.
Ambiguous.
Right? That's right. We're ambiguousnicity. So yes, it's good. We're good. Go ahead, John. It's your turn.
I'm going to make a list of all the Frankisms, all the words that aren't real, but we're all going to know what they are. It's just, that didn't sound quite right to me. That was not quite there.
Shout out Lindsay Kaiser. I think she actually has. There's a chick that I used to work with, one of my very good friends, football fanatic. She actually used to start a list of all the Frankism words, and it got to like 20 words at one point. So we'll just tell her to add that to the list.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got your voice thousands of hours on YouTube here that we can pull plenty of them. Trust me. All right. After Alvin Kamara, George Pickens, Dalton Kincaid, Kenneth Walker, and George Kittle. I am on the clock here. We're in the 5th round. I've got Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp. I'm going to continue hitting receiver. I've got 2 stud running backs. There's a lot of running backs I like towards the end of the draft, around 7, 8, 9. I'm going to wait till then to go after one of those guys, and I'm going to continue hitting receiver here. I'm going to dig down a little deeper on the ADP list. Do not be afraid to do that, guys. Don't just look at the top 3 guys in each position. Look at the guys and look at your team, depending on how you're constructing your team. Make the right choice there. I'm going to go down a little bit here. There's a receiver I love. I think this guy is being drafted way too low. I think he's definitely going to overperform his ADP. And I think we were just scared because we were looking at potential suspension for the guy. Well, at this point, it's not happening, guys. He's playing 6 days from now, and he's going to be the number 1 receiver for Pity Pat's Pies, Patrick Mahomes. I'm going with Rashee Rice, man. I just think this guy's being slept on and underdrafted, and I'm all over him this year, baby. That hurt you, Ian?
That did hurt. I was hoping he was going to fall. That's a great pick, though. Because to your point, no more suspension. Pat Mahomes got to throw it to somebody. Xavier Worthy is a speedster, but I think he's got a long way to go still in terms of just developing his skill set and understanding how to be in the league. So Rashee Rice, a lot of upside there.
Listen, man, Rashee Rice could be this year's Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep,
he was a rookie last year. He really came on at the end of the season last year for Patrick Mahomes being his number 1 target out there. And he's a year 2 receiver. Did we all forget about that? I think we all get so wrapped up in these rookies, we forget about year 2 guys. That's the breakout season. And when you've got a year 2 talent like Rashee Rice, and you've got him with a Hall of Fame quarterback coming back for a 3-peat of Super Bowl wins, I'm all over it, man. I just don't see how he can't be amazing this year. All right, after Rashee Rice, we had Aaron Jones. And Ian, you're on the clock with 2 picks here. Really nice balanced team, 2 running backs, 2 receivers. And who are you going to take as your 5th guy here, man?
Yeah, so I think this one's interesting because, well, the second pick is going to be interesting. The first pick, I think, is a no-brainer. I think this is really good value for a guy who is probably overshadowed a lot in his organization because he's never the guy who's getting signed. He already has an owner that's a cheap fuck, but, it's always talk about Jamar Chase. But this is a guy who I'm sure people know who I'm talking about that just continues to perform and be a great target every single year. So I think it's a no-brainer at the 5th pick to round out my flex spot with T. Higgins. Like, I think that's probably one of my favorite picks that I've made so far in this draft in terms of value. I think this next one is where it's going to be tough because I was hoping Aaron Jones was going to fall to me after Rashee Rice did not fall, and the computer decided to take that. So now I'm at a crossroads of, do I decide to take a quarterback a little earlier than I would anticipate? There are some good ones on the board, but that's really not typically my style. I'm not going to do it because I just can't, I can't take a quarterback this early in my eyes. So I'm going to take a guy for another piece of what I think is going to be a great offense this year. A guy or rather a position that's proven to perform well with the quarterback that they're going to have at the helm. I'm taking Kyle Pitts. I know some people probably may feel differently about that pick. You know, some people have gotten burned by Pitts for sure. And me, it's never happened personally. But I think Kirk Cousins, he spreads the ball around. He's healthy. He throws a lot, and tight ends tight ends typically have success with him at the helm. So Kyle Pitts.
Man, I love that pick. Listen, I was this close. I had to call Frankie and have him talk me off the ledge. I was this close to making Kyle Pitts one of my champions. And I just said, I'll first of all, I'll get murdered on YouTube. The comments will just destroy me. I know they will. But I was this close to doing it, man. And I do believe it. I think his price being in round 6 like this, I think it's worth it, man. I think that the thought of what he could be with a different amount of usage, they're using him all over the field. I think they do actually use him as a wide receiver this year, and I think it will help his fantasy value. It's a great pick, man. I love it. All right, after T. Higgins and Kyle Pitts were taken, then Amari Cooper. I am back on the clock here. Round 6, I've got Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor as running backs. My receivers, I did bang, bang, bang on that. DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Rashee Rice. Now I do feel a lot better with my team. So now I can kind of relax. I've got the foundation of my team set. Now I can look around and get a little creative. If I want to look at quarterback with a Joe Burrow or Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, I could do that. Tight ends, a little early now for that after the teardrops. We're looking at Evan Ingram, Brock Bowers, David Njoku. Love those guys. Not going to do it in the 6th round, though. Running backs here, I may look at doing some depth for running backs. Yeah, actually, I am going to do that. There's a guy that I do like a lot. I don't love to throw him out there and start him all the time, but I like having him as an option in good matchups, and it's James Conner. Another workhorse guy, gets a lot of play out of the backfield as far as pass catching. The team's just got a juiced up offense now with MHJ out there, healthy Kyler Murray. We're going to see a ton out of James Conner early in the season. Now, he could wear down towards the end of the season, but I'll make some plans in my draft here to adjust for that. All right, then Dak Prescott, David Montgomery, Keenan Allen, and Christian Kirk. Frankie, you're on the clock in round 6.
Round 6, guys, looking at, and I have currently Amon-Ra, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, DK Metcalf, and Alvin Kamara. I'm going to go back to the well at receiver here. Looking at Terry McLaurin, Rome Odunze, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley. I actually like all of those guys. There's one that stands above the rest. For me, it's pretty easy. It's Terry McLaurin. The sole reason why is because we have seen now Brandon Ayuk stay with that of the 49ers. We also saw the Philadelphia Eagles get that of Jahan Dotson, and the Commanders shipped him off to that of the Philly. So what that means is it truly is that of Terry McLaurin and everybody else. So knowing that he's going to absorb those targets from that of Dotson and absorb a lot of that receiving work that Dotson did, guys, I think to have a receiver 1 on the particular Commanders as your flex piece is gold. So that's why I really like Terry McLaurin as my 3rd receiver.
I love that, man. Great pick. Yeah, I mean, with Jahan Dotson getting out of there and Jaden Daniels at quarterback, I want to see a revival of Terry McLaurin. I want Terry to be scary again. Make Terry scary again. That's what I want a shirt to say. No, that's hashtag fuck Frankie on YouTube.
I know. We got to get that going, guys. Come on.
I know. All right. Then we had Najee Harris, Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Ramondre Stevenson, and Joe Burrow to round out the turn. Coming into the 7th round now, we've got Tony Pollard, Raheem Mostert, and Kyler Murray. Frank, you're back on the clock. Very disciplined team, very good, balanced team. How do you feel so far, halfway through here, a little more than halfway through, with taking Patrick Mahomes at number 2? Do you feel better about your team? Do you feel good?
I feel better than what I thought I was going to feel because, guys, I promise you, I do not take quarterbacks in round 2. I don't do it. I've never done it. I think I've done it once in literally 15 years. But this is kind of interesting, man. Being in the middle of the pack here, knowing that I got Amon-Ra to kind of solidify my team or anchor my team, why not get the top quarterback in your eyes? And then what we're starting to see is you can fill in with very viable players like Josh Jacobs and Kamara, and then I can still have top tier receivers as my receiver 2 in flex. So it's actually kind of working out a lot better than what I thought. And now, John, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm looking at the running back landscape, right? I have only Josh Jacobs and only Kamara. I got to continue to go back and really kind of get a stable there. And I'm going to get a guy that's not even playing for the first 5 weeks, maybe 6. But when that motherfucker comes back and when we're sitting there with this shirt on, pumped up as all hell, he's going to be fired up. He's going to be fucking ready. Who else is excited? All those people on YouTube that are killing me over drafting him every time, and Instagram, go fuck yourself. Keep it coming. I'm taking Nick Chubb. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Can't wait to see the bat signal.
Every time.
Let's go.
Every time you draft him in these mock drafts, you just get killed on the comments. I love it, man. Bring it, guys. Give it to Frankie. Let's go. Hashtag fuck Frankie. All right, after Nick Chubb, Brock Bowers, Zamir White, Evan Ingram, and Zach Moss. I am on the clock here at the 7:10 spot. All right, let's see what I got going on here. Receivers, I would like to continue hammering receivers. The running backs, there's a handful of guys that I like a little bit later. I might pick one up on the way back here. But receivers, I want a piece. Jaden Reed's very interesting to me. I want a piece of that Green Bay offense. It's between him and Calvin Ridley right now. I think the move here for me is going to be Calvin Ridley. I just think it's a more of a guaranteed workload for Calvin Ridley, especially with a banged up D-Hop. He's not going to be 100% for sure. But I like the prospect of Calvin Ridley here on this offense. So we're going to go with Calvin. After that, David Njoku and Ian, you're on the clock on the turn here. What are you going to do with your 7 and 8 pick?
Yeah, so I definitely need another running back. I only have two running backs also who have had a history of potentially, getting injured, unfortunately. Not necessarily missing the whole season or anything like that, but, Henry's getting a little older. DeAndre Swift has been banged up before. So I'm going to take a guy who I think people are split on. But I think if the passing attack and the offense can just get a little bit better in Denver, like just a little bit, we don't even need a lot, just a little bit, that is just going to keep defenses hopefully off balance enough to give this guy some more open running lanes. A lot of the talk coming out of their camp is they like what they're seeing. So I'm going with my guy. I think it's Jameson Williams, right? Or no, Javonte Williams, right. Jameson's in Detroit. So Javonte Williams for the bench spot, right? And if he really shines, maybe we can slot him into a flex or something like that. And then this next pick, I have 4 QBs in mind that are still on the board, and seeing all the QBs that have already gone, I feel confident that I don't need to go there just yet, that at least one of the guys that I like will be there for the next time that I pick. So I'm going to stick with my Buckeyes theme here. I know people probably don't love the passing attack in Seattle. I don't really love it either, but as Buckeyes fans, man, we know what this guy can do. I mean, the route running, the hands, he's coming from wide receiver U. I expect a nice uptick in fantasy production from Jackson Smith and Njigba this year.
I do like that pick, man. I don't think enough people have talked about him. He's a year 2 receiver as well, who's poised for a breakout. And Tyler Lockett is not somebody that I just don't see anybody getting excited about him. When you see Tyler Lockett on the board, you just kind of skip it. He's kind of, at this point, he's a very good receiver, obviously, but he's kind of a jag at this point.
Yeah.
I think this could be the year that you see Jackson Smith and Njigba really kind of cut into his workload there. I love that. All right, then Jordan Love, and I am on the clock. This is interesting. Now we're getting to that time where can you wait on a guy that you like, or can you, take the chance here, or do you take him right away? There is a quarterback I'm targeting. I'm not going to say anything because I know you two fuckers will take him from me. I'm going to let him go and see if he can come back down to me. I'm going to look at a player here. I'm looking league winning at this point. I want a guy that's going to help me toward back end of the season and come on strong. This is a rookie. Again, I love these rookies, man, but this is a running back. It's a guy I don't need. I've got 3 very good running backs that I can play with throughout the season. This is a guy I can wait on when he gets healthy. I can plug him in, and this has a potential for a league winner, guys. Jonathan Brooks, running back for the Carolina Panthers. I want a piece of him in a league. I want to sit on him and wait. He's on the pup. He's going to be out at least the first 4 weeks. But again, this is a back half of the season play. All right, then we had Rome Odunze, Jaden Reed, Jordan Addison, Austin Eckler, and Frankie are on the clock. Where are you going, man?
Got to go running back, right? Knowing Nick Chubb is not going to be available potentially for the first 4 to 6 weeks, I have to make sure that I continue to get depth there. So right now I'm looking at Jalen Warren. I'm looking at Devin Singletary, Tajay Spears, Brian Robinson. For me, again, this is pretty easy, guys. It's Devin Singletary. I want a number one on a team that honestly isn't that great of a team, but that bodes well for the way Devin Singletary plays. What I mean by that is his pass catching ability out of the backfield, I think is going to be really beneficial in a PPR. And then again, it's really him and then everybody else. So I know they have Eric Gray. I know they have Tyrone Tracy. Again, it's Devin Singletary's show. So I love getting him as my running back 4.
And Hollywood Brown, Lad McConkey, DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, Zeke Elliott, Jamison Williams, Keon Coleman, and Jake Ferguson. Frankie, you're back on the clock. This is the 905 pick.
905 pick. So guys, again, we're only doing a 4 bench, and then we're not drafting kicker and defense here. So I got to make sure I'm looking at the tight end spot. Tight end, there's Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson. Again, I'm going to be playing the tight end game anyways. I'm going to set all of that to the side. I want to continue adding depth, and it's got to be receiver at this point in time. So I currently have that of Amon-Ra, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin. Let's bolster that a tad. And why not with a guy who is their number one on a team that lost Stephon Diggs, that lost Gabe Davis? I'm adding that of Curtis Samuel, who is back this week practicing. We're going to be talking a lot about him, but we remember what he did with Joe Brady back in 2020 with the Carolina Panthers. John, he ended up having over 1,000 all total purpose yards and 5 total touchdowns. So for me, man, I'm locking in a guy that has insane upside.
All right, then we have Brock Purdy, Christian Watson, Jalen Warren, Dallas Goedert, and I am on the clock. Well, this is where I go get my guy, guys. There's a particular guy that I am targeting at quarterback. He waited to me. If I can get him in the 9th round, this is beautiful. So I'm taking him now. It's Jaden Daniels. I love the rushing. I think he's just got fantasy gold written all over him, man. He's going to be a light version of Lamar Jackson. As long as he doesn't get ragdolled too much, I should be okay. But there's plenty of quarterbacks out there on the waiver wire if I need to back him up. Again, we're doing a shallow bench so we don't take up too much time, but just wanted to, I would obviously, if we had a 5-6 person bench, I'd grab another quarterback at the end of the draft just to make sure I've got some backup there in case he does get banged up. All right, then Jared Goff and Ian, you're on the clock. You do need a quarterback. You've got your tight end, but good looking team so far. Where are you going here, man?
So I'll follow exactly what you just mentioned there, Johnny. Like, because we have a light bench, I'm going to take this guy, but I would definitely be drafting another quarterback just given the history. And we all saw even some of the things that happened live on TV last year with some concussion issues. But listen, there is no denying Mike McDaniel and that explosive Miami offense. So I'm going to take Tua. I think he, with the protection and as long as he's out there and he's healthy, like he's very capable of getting the ball into the hands of their skill guys. And that obviously bodes well for his fantasy stats. So again, if we had a deeper bench, I would probably take another quarterback as well, just to make sure I had some depth there. But so I'm taking Tua. And then for my next pick here, so I think with my next pick, I'm going to take a flyer on another piece of that Denver offense. Again, if the passing attack is just a little bit better, this guy should have an even better year, and he's been able to do pretty good with pretty lackluster QB play. So for a pretty late round pick and a guy who at times in previous years has been regarded as a wide receiver 1, / wide receiver 2, kind of a fringe guy, I'm going to take Courtland Sutton.
Oh, Team 11 just fucked me so hard.
Oh, I'm so happy.
I was going to be so excited to take Brian Thomas Jr. as my next pick. I love this guy. I was trying to wait for him. Didn't work out. Fuck you, Team 11. Damn it. All right, so I've got 2 picks left here. I do need a tight end, and also going to be looking at a flyer pick, somebody that I can't have any more roster clogs. I've got Jonathan Brooks that's going to be sitting on my bench for quite some time. So I want to get a guy, flyer pick after my tight end, just to give me somebody that if they're not involved, I can drop them, but maybe there's a little upside ceiling play there. I'm going to grab the tight end, though, right now. I'm going to go with Dalton Schultz with the Houston Texans. Love the opportunity for him. I think he's a nice, safe tight end that you can grab at the end of your drafts with great quarterback playing CJ Stroud. All right, then Trey Benson. Yeah, thank you. Caleb Williams, Tajay Spears, and Gus Edwards. Frankie, you're on the clock. 2 picks left here, man. What are you doing at 10:08?
2 picks left, sitting at 10:08. Guys, I'm going to go back to the running back well. The reason being is there's one guy here that for me is huge based on the team that I drafted. It's really easy. It's Jerome Ford. Guys, this is a starting caliber player that I can plug and play in case something happens to one of my running backs early in the season. And in case Nick Chubb doesn't pan out, I have the handcuff here. This is where, again, we talk about it a lot. This is where sometimes you don't want to take your handcuff because it's clogging your bench. This is not one of those times because we know the length of time Nick Chubb is going to be out. The value of Jerome Ford is huge. It's massive. And yes, they have Pierre Strong. And yes, they signed Deontay Foreman. It doesn't matter. It's Jerome Ford's job as a backup to Nick Chubb. When Nick Chubb isn't there, it's Jerome Ford all day. So for me, man, I love being able to cover my ass with the Nick Chubb pick with grabbing that of Ford.
You could look at matchups there, Frank. I mean, Alvin Kamara is not necessarily an auto start for you either. He's playing against a tough defense, and you've got Jerome Ford that's playing against a nice defense. They've got one of the best offensive lines in football, and we know at least 4, 5, 6 weeks, Jerome Ford's a starter on that team. So I love that pick, man. Great job. All right, after Jerome Ford, we had Brandon Robinson, TJ Hawkinson, Chase Brown, Romeo Doubs, Pat Firemouth, Tyler Lockett, Blake Corum, and Trevor Lawrence. Frank, it's your last pick. Who's your tight end going to be, buddy?
Yeah, so if he's still here, which he is not, right? I'm not seeing him on the board, not seeing him available. I'm not sure if it's just the system issue or whatever it may be, but if he is still here in your guys' leagues, grab him. It's Taysom Hill. For whatever reason, I'm not seeing him. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to go Cole Kmet. I think that with him being there long-term with the Bears, I think that with obviously Caleb Williams being a rookie, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Kmet. Sure, there's also a lot of competition. Definitely taking that in consideration. But the thing is, you're drafting a tight end with your last pick, right? And so you can play the tight end game. There's no risk there. So don't worry if you're worried about competition, things like that, because you can drop his ass, pick up another guy, and rock and roll from that point. So I'm locking in Cole Kmet.
Okay, then Khalil Shakir, Josh Herbert, Jerry Jeudy, Xavier Leggett, and I am on the clock with my last pick. Like I said, I'm going to take a flyer. I'm going to take a guy. We talked about this. Put my money where my mouth is. This was on our Flyers episode, and we talked about this guy. He's got the opportunity to be the number 1 receiver on the team. I got to see. I'm going to take this guy and just see what kind of volume is he getting in week 1. If it's just, it's just okay. Maybe Quentin Johnston steps up. Maybe Ladd McConkey is a goddamn stud. I don't know. But I'm going to take a look. And if he's not getting the volume I want, I can drop him, play the waiver wire. It's exactly what I want for this pick. It's Josh Palmer of the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, then Chuba Hubbard and Ian, your last pick. Who's going to round out your team here, man?
Yeah, so I think at this point there's really 2 guys that I'm eyeing, and they're both kind of flyers, but they've both been getting some preseason hype. I think the guy that I'm going to go with, I'm probably going with because A, he's not a rookie, so he doesn't have to get acclimated to the league. Like he's kind of realized that. And I think his offense and the quarterback play from a throwing perspective will be better. So the guy I'm passing on is Adonai Mitchell, even though I love the hype that he's been getting. He's been looking good in camp. Like if anybody wanted to take that guy over who I'm taking would totally understand. But I'm going to take Dontavian Wicks. I've also been seeing a lot of great things about him in preseason. I think the quarterback play with Jordan Love will be better. The schematics will be better in that offense. So Dontavian Wicks to round out the squad.
You must have been watching that episode. We talked about Dontavian Wicks as one of our favorite flyers too, man. Yeah, get a little piece of that offense. Big time upside. All right, that's it. That is the draft. Let's take a look now, Frank. Briefly, let's just go over, for the sake of time, just go over your team a little bit here and
Sure.
Things that you love, things that you hate, maybe something you would have done differently.
Yeah, guys. So looking at it again, I drafted from the 5th overall spot. So my receivers right now are Amon-Ra St. Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, right? Really solid with that 4. Certainly would love to backfill with another receiver if possible. But again, I can always change things, do trade, things like that because of my running back situation. guys, I have a stable here. I have Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, and Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary is the key to my running back core because he's the one who rounds everything out. He's the guy who's steady Eddie, right? And so for me, that was a critical pick, knowing that I have question marks, not only with Nick Chubb and not only with that of Alvin Kamara, but that way I have a back that I know that can come in and play. Now, again, you can't miss on Patrick Mahomes. I fully believe that, guys. I think what we saw last year, even though he was incredible, I still think we haven't seen the best yet. His receiving room was dog shit. Let's just call it what it is, right? And now you're saying that it's completely revamped to the point to where you have the fastest ever to record in a combine in a 40 in that of Xavier Worthy. You have another 4.31 guy in that of Hollywood Brown when he's healthy. You layer on that of Isaiah Pacheco out of the backfield and a top offensive line. And by the way, I didn't even mention Rashee Rice, and Travis Kelce, but Rashee Rice taking a minute, John. I love your pick when you took him. The reason being, guys, is just a reminder, he set the postseason record for most yards a rookie has ever done in the postseason. And that was a rookie. Now you're going into a full season with him this year. Dude, I am all about Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to take a hot take. I think that he is going to decimate every other quarterback. I think it's going to be a teardrop. And so that is why I'm really pumped about this team. One change that I wish I could go back and do after kind of looking at this, I'm not as high on the Kamara pick as what I thought I was going to be. The way everything kind of fell, I think that I could have ended up taking at that point in time a receiver and then waited on another running back like that of a Zamir White, things like that. The reason being is because the receivers that I could have taken was I could have got a stack with Rashee Rice. And that to me is a lot better than having Kamara as my RB2, knowing the way the running backs fell. The other key call out is I could have got a George Pickens, a true receiver one on a Steelers team that's going to be high flying, knowing that also Brandon Ayuk is out. So again, for me, that would be the two call outs that I kind of would change a bit differently in my draft. But overall, happy with the well-balanced team.
That's a really good call out there because I love your team had you done the Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes stack. And that's exactly why we do this, guys, because you can look. And I know why you did that. You took Alvin Kamara because you started panicking a little bit.
Totally did.
You're in the 5th round, and you're like, man, am I going to run out of starting running backs, workhorse running backs? So you took one there, and I don't blame you. Looking at what you were able to put together by locking down the Browns running back situation and getting Devin Singletary, yeah, you could have had Rashee Rice in that spot and still had a stable of workhorse running backs. And I would have loved your team so much more. But I love it. Great job. I mean, you just showed that you can take Patrick Mahomes in the 2nd round and still put together a very, very good team with a lot of volume on it. So I love it, man. Great work. All right, with my team, let's take a look here. I've got Jaden Daniels as my quarterback. I love him. I'm targeting him. I want him. If I can get him 9th, 10th round, I'm all over it, man. Jaden Daniels is quarterback. Dalton Schultz is tight end. Running backs, I drafted out of the 10 spot here. I've got Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. Love that. Very scary doing that. I wanted to see how it ended up, just because I do love those early receivers. Really, really a lot. But having that stable makes me feel very good about my running back situation. Came right back around and started hammering receivers. DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Rashee Rice, Calvin Ridley, Josh Palmer. I feel really good about that. I was able to come back with some guys that are very, very playable, guys that I can play in the flex and have some options there as well. Backup running backs with James Conner, Jonathan Brooks I'll be sitting on and seeing if he can help win my league. Now, the one thing in real time, I regretted doing this, and I wish I would have done this differently. What I wish I would have done, knowing that I was going to be targeting Jalen Daniels at the end of the draft here, I should have taken Terry McLaurin in round 6 instead of James Conner. That would have made my team much, much cozier for me at that point. James Conner's not really a guy I need to use, so I could have gone with Terry McLaurin there. And obviously after that, I would have drafted differently. I probably wouldn't have taken a Ridley. I would have gone with another running back for depth there. But that's really the only thing I think I would have done differently to make me feel better.
John, one of the other call-outs too with your particular team, and I'm glad you showed this, guys. Johnny built a team that is very, very viable for trading. Like with knowing that you have Jonathan Brooks, that's just going to be sitting there in the whims and could absolutely be a league winner in the back half. is a massive trade piece, knowing he has Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor and James Conner. So he could actually move James Conner after a peak, package that together with a Calvin Ridley, and then get a superstar receiver one. And now you have the receiver one superstar with that of DJ Moore and Cooper Kupp and Rashee Rice. And now you're sitting there like with a lot more flexibility. So I actually like how you drafted this, John. If you decided to not go the route of Terry McLaurin there and you decided to stay course and go James Conner, you could end up using that. Again, you have to be very active if you're doing this, but a very tradable team. And I love that.
All right. All right, Ian, drafting out of the 12 spot on the turn. How'd your team end up, man?
So I think we ended up pretty good. The two call outs that I have, first is I'm a little light on running backs, right? I only have 3. And again, I have the injury risk kind of in the back of my mind, just kind of, it's fully living rent free in my head right now between Henry and Swift. So, and even Williams, I mean, they say he looks great, but coming off of an ACL tear as well. So that's got me a little nervous. And I know we drafted light on the bench spots. That's probably where I would have spent the rest of my time is strengthening the depth of that running back position. And then the other thing is, I'm a big fan of, you guys have talked about it, of stacking the quarterback with one of his weapons. And I just wasn't able to do that, right? Ideally, I was hoping to maybe be able to do that with Jordan Love, but, wasn't able to get him. So that's another thing that I'd change if I could. But listen, I mean, I think I have a lot of explosion and a lot of guys that are going to get a nice share of the offense across the board. So as long as we can stay healthy, should be a good squad.
Ian, one question for you here, because I know we're going to get shit for it, and I want you to explain for 1 second. What was your thought process on taking Tank Dell over Nico Collins?
Yeah, absolutely. So other than the fact that, we don't mess with the team up north. No, I'm just kidding there. But no, listen, I owned Nico Collins last year, actually in multiple leagues, in like 3 or 4 leagues, and he was a stud. But towards the back half of the year, you started to see Tank Dell kind of creep in and have not only more upside, but even a little more consistent upside. And I know he had the injury last year, but I think when you think about, yes, this is a PPR league and Nico Collins will probably finish with more catches, but he's going to get a lot of the underneath stuff and have to rely on his ability to get yak, right? To get yards after catch versus, even though Tank Dell might only have half the catches in the game, let's say he has 4 and Nico Collins has 8. Nico Collins' 8 catches are more likely going to be sub 60, 70 yards in a game versus if Tank Dell has 4 catches, he's probably going for at least 100 yards and maybe even a tutter, right? And we know CJ Stroud can throw that thing, and he's going to be cutting the top off the defense. So I just think you have more upside and more potential for explosive plays with Tank Dell. So that's why I decided to go there.
Nice.
Ian, your team could be the best team in the league in this draft, or it could be the worst team.
Yep.
I feel like it's a pendulum swing team one way or the other. The upside is huge. And if you get that upside, I think it's just going to be dominant, but it's definitely a risk. There's no question.
Yeah.
Great team, guys. Great drafting. That's the last mock draft of the season,
Wow.
Frank. I'm a little sad. Let me get my
goodness.
sad tears out. Yes. Yeah. Oh, God. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you again for helping the channel, helping grow the channel. Please continue to support, comment on our teams. Give us shit. Give Ian shit for his very dangerous team he's got. Give Frankie shit because he drafts Chubb and Ford in every single fucking draft. Give me shit because I had a lisp the entire goddamn episode last mock draft.
Yeah, let's pause on that, guys. For those, we were getting comments, we were getting reactions. Johnny just fucked up his mouth. Let's just call it what it is. I'm just kidding, guys.
No, I did not. Yeah, it sounded like I was having a stroke, man. I was sitting there. Okay, so we've got Justin Jefferson and all right, let me explain.
St. Brown.
Stop it. Okay, quit it. I'm mortified of what happened. My settings weren't correct. It was talking through my AirPod, and I go to the sauna. My AirPod's obviously damaged. Gave me a lisp for whatever reason. I'm sorry. Enjoy it. Laugh it up, guys. We kept it on there because the content was so goddamn good, but I sounded like a goddamn idiot. Please join us, follow, share, subscribe, guys. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Frankly Fantasy Football, TikTok. We're now on TikTok, Frankly Fantasy Football. And Frankie, what do we have going on next week, my friend?
Guys, do not miss out. This is what we've all been waiting for. The fucking Champions episode where Johnny and I are taking our flags out. We're planting them in the guys that we are going to be rocking with all year long. That will be dropping next week to make sure that you guys are fully prepared for that Thursday night game and that first full weekend. Johnny and Ian, one other call out, guys. Just a reminder, if you're looking to place a few bets and you're looking to get into it a little bit, don't forget, head over to our dedicated page, guys, at signupexpert.com/frankly to explore a selection of sportsbooks tailored to your specific region, each with unique offerings. What does that mean? If you don't have that sportsbook, you end up signing up, you, sir, get some bonus bets your way. So if you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and show some love, right? Show some love to Frankly Fantasy, show some love to Ian, show some love to Johnny, and, hashtag fuck Frankie. I highly recommend signing up, guys, for that next sports book. You can easily find it in the description of this video.
Again, thank you so much, my friend. Thanks for being on here, brother. Great to see you. Any closing words for you, man?
No, thank you for bringing me on again, fellas. It's always great to catch up with you guys and talk some football. And hopefully everybody in the comments doesn't give me too much shit. But even if they do, I'm here for it. So bring it on.
That's right, baby.
Hey, we'll see you in a real draft next week, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. All right. May the fantasy gods smile upon you. Bye.